To be honest, when I grew up in this environment, so I grew up in a survival mode. And when these things take a toll on a person, even though we're journalists and we can be on front lines and we can work to discover the truth, but this has drained me as a person, and psychologically it has a massive effect on my being.
Journalists in the line of duty are doing their job, so they should not be targeted for being the messengers.
The Assad fall is separated. That did heal a trauma in all of us, but there's a new trauma that started because also Sharia had been ruling north-west of the country, and he has been ruling that area with the same method that Assad has been ruling. Gaza it's not only Gaza. I think Palestine is a universal cause, and we have seen brutality on another level, on another scale, lack of accountability, the failure of international law and human justice and international courts by Israel.
So the press west, you think that
Yes.
puts a target right at your back?
Yes, because I also lost my friend Issam Abdullah 2 years ago. He was a journalist with Reuters. He had his press vest, his press helmet, his badge, and he was filming the Israeli attacks on southern Lebanon, and he was directly attacked.
So Anna, thank you so much. I'm just going to give you a hug.
Yes, thank you so
And
much. It was so
wishing-
nice talking to you.
Hello and a warm welcome. You're watching my YouTube station, Smita Sharma, journalist. And if you're looking at this gorgeous background right behind me, I'm actually in Brussels, in Belgium, here for a European Union media conference. It's been 2 days of very interesting deliberations. But the best part, meeting fellow journalists from across the world with more than 80 participants representing some 65 countries, and the kind of stories that you get to hear from journalists, more often than not, we are just so caught up with our own turbulence, our own stories, that it's very important to also try and understand what others are facing on a day-to-day basis. And I have with me here, a journalist friend. I'm calling her a friend now because I'm sure that this relationship will go on a long while. Anna Maria Ohan. She is Syrian, Armenian, and currently based in Beirut in Lebanon. Often when young journalists come to us and they say that either they want to become an anchor or they want to become a war journalist, the clamor of it all kind of is something that young aspirants want to talk about. It's really not glamorous. There's a whole bunch of pain, trauma that journalists deal with on a daily basis, perhaps also boxing them away to move from story to story. Anna, thank you so much for joining me here in this conversation.
Thank you.
You've been a journalist now for 12 years?
Almost, yes. 12 years. I've been a journalist. It wasn't a choice to be a journalist. It was a duty and a responsibility growing up in Syria to be a journalist and to share the truth, because my voice was not heard. And a lot of Syrian voices were not heard because of oppression and because of war and because of 60 years of dictatorship, basically. I left and with the duty that I will always share the truth, no matter the consequences. And I will always work on sharing the voices of the people, and especially the marginalized communities in my country. So it's been a rough 12 years.
It's an understatement, let me tell you that, because over the past 2 days we've had several conversations, and I can just tell you that there are so many powerful stories being told here in the rooms. Many of those details we cannot obviously share. But Anna, so which part of Syria did you grow up in, and what were your early childhood memories of Syria before we talk about what's happening in Syria today?
So,
okay, that's the Belgian police. I don't know what are they chasing, but that's the Grand Palace. It's
beautiful.
It's the palace of the Belgian king right behind us.
Yes.
Sorry, yeah.
So I grew up in Aleppo, which is a beautiful city. It's torn by war. Currently, its resources are really drained, but it is trying to get back on its feet. My early memories, unfortunately, are war memories, because I was only in the 9th grade when the war started. So it was actually my teenage years that I had to work in humanitarian organizations during this time, volunteer, help others, and eventually leave the country because of oppression at 17 only. These events made me grow up even before I should have grown up.
Yeah.
So my teenage years were invested into journalism work, into investigative work, because we don't have the luxury to think beyond our dreams, to think what we want to do, because there are more important things to actually achieve in our countries.
Right. I remember going to Damascus, I think around the time that, of course, just months before the main war kind of started, because Bashar al-Assad had called for a plebiscite, and I was a part of a media delegation that had visited there. Beautiful city, and it was painful to see what happened to it in a span of few months itself. And as you mentioned, it's very important that you faced the war, you became, in a way, a migrant refugee of sorts before you started covering those daily stories, and you've had a tumultuous personal life too. So how did you cope up with it all, Anna?
To be honest, when I grew up in this environment, so I grew up in a survival mode. And when these things take a toll on a person, no matter how strong they are and how urgent it is to work and how important it is to have this responsibility, but we're eventually humans, even though we're journalists and we can be on front lines and we can work to discover the truth. But this has drained me as a person, and psychologically it has a massive effect on my being. So I don't actually know how it is to not be in this mode. I know how to be in survival mode, and this is something that I discovered when I started traveling outside of the region. Because when I travel and see normal life or more normal issues, I go back to the region and I go back to my survival mode. And this is a very difficult separation to do. Because that's all I know, and it's uncomfortable for me to get out of it.
Yeah.
And this is not only me, this is most of the population of the region. And it's not only because of oppression internally, because of external oppression as well, because of continuous war on several fronts. And through several parties, through several countries. So it's not only one thing, and it's not only an internal division, it's also an international impact.
I mean, we are here in Europe. Of course, Europe is focused on the war at its doorstep, which is the Russian-Ukraine war, and the conversations obviously have a lot of focus on it. But as Anna is mentioning, she belongs to a region, whether it's Syria, whether it's Lebanon, and of course the Israel, Gaza situation, the entire war itself between Israel and Hamas. When you look at what is happening in Syria today, with al-Shara in power, al-Shara going to the United Nations, how do you sort of segregate what the journalist in you thinks from the Syrian in you?
So the journalist, I've learned how to build the wall between my personal opinions and my journalism work, because it cannot have an effect on my work. My duty is to share the facts, fact check the information I get, and share them as they are. I cannot impose my opinion because eventually I'm a reporter. I'm the connection between the people and the world. So if I'm putting my own opinions, it will not be the opinion of all of Syria and all of citizens. Today, obviously, the situation is very complicated in Syria, but the only thing that I believe in is 60 years of rooted regime has ended. And today we have an opportunity to not make the same mistake again, because centralized dictatorship is something we've been through, and we should not go through it again, and we should not accept it again.
But do Syrians feel that there is a sense of justice, that there is a sense of closure, in a sense of healing? I mean, you're talking about somebody who was heading the Al-Nusra front.
Yes.
Till some time ago.
Yes.
And the horrors of even that front are very well documented.
Yes. Actually, it's the Assad fall is separated. That did heal a trauma in all of us, but there's a new trauma that started, because also Sharia had been ruling west of the country, and he has been ruling that area with the same method that Assad has been ruling in center of Damascus and in Syria. So let alone that he has been with ISIS, then he was with Al-Qaeda, then he was... So he has a history that is very volatile, and this is not only happening in Syria. We are seeing this kind of transitions happen in many spaces with US support. So eventually this is not a decision that Syrians took.
Yeah.
This is the decision that international actors imposed on Syrians. But we are fighting for elections. That's how we can fight right now, with elections. And we believe that I believe that Syrians know that this is our opportunity for change, and especially that the eyes are on the central government right now, the de facto government right now, because these are not our choices, and we need fair and democratic elections to actually decide who rules us.
Just a little off question. I mean, given your multiple identities and cultural roots, how many languages do you speak?
I speak 4 languages,
Which is
Armenian, English, Turkish, and Arabic.
lovely. So, for the young aspirants, of course, we have covered conflicts, we have covered terror strikes, but it's different when we parachute down to a situation, cover it for a few days and come back into much safer spaces than compared to somebody like Anna, who's constantly reporting from the front line, who is a war reporter today from an extremely volatile region that is full of conflicts. Even in Lebanon. I mean, Lebanon is no stranger to, of course, invasions and wars, but has the situation once again gone downhill very fast?
I mean, in Lebanon, the situation has been going downhill, not only in Lebanon, in the region. Most countries bordering Israel are at war with... Israel is at war with them, actually. I mean, we see I'm always on the front lines in southern Lebanon, and I'm always covering the Israeli attacks and violations. They still occupy 7 points in southern Lebanon, and they are not allowing rebuilding efforts for regular villagers, which is basically the aim for Israel. And we are actually scared to wear our vest at this point because of targeted attacks on journalists by Israel.
So the press vest, you think that puts a target right at your back?
Yes, because I also lost my friend Issam Abdullah 2 years ago. He was a journalist with Reuters. He had his press vest, his press helmet, his badge, and he was filming the Israeli attacks on southern Lebanon, and he was directly attacked by Israeli forces and killed instantly, and his colleagues from AFP were severely injured. So yes, and in Gaza we saw over 200 journalists have been killed. So wearing a press vest puts me in direct target of an Israeli attack.
I mean, imagine, when you talk about international rules-based order or international laws, conventions, now some of them, of course, do constantly stress on the fact that journalists in the line of duty are doing their job. So they should not be targeted for being the messengers. But unfortunately, we have landed up in a world situation where today journalists are being targeted precisely for doing journalism, precisely for being journalists. So there are no safe spaces when it comes to international activists, when it comes to medical workers. We've seen so many of them, scores and scores getting killed in Gaza in the current situation. So Anna, then, once again I return back to my question. Day after day after day, when you deal with death, destruction, rubble, it takes such a severe personal toll to you.
Yes.
What keeps you going?
What keeps me going is the motivation of finding out the truth always, and I always feel like I have a responsibility and duty towards the country I immigrated to, towards the friends and family that I've made, the conference that I came to, the people I spoke to. This motivates me to keep telling the truth. I know that it's a very risky job. Mentally, it's very draining, but at the same time, it's very rewarding because even in case of my death, that will be a badge and black dot on the Israeli record.
Well, let's just hope that things do not reach that point.
Yes.
As I always remind people and a lot of younger journalists, I've been around for 23 years, that survival is important for us to be able to tell stories. And while I do not like to put the spotlight on us, as journalists we are storytellers, we are supposed to tell stories of others, but I just thought that it would be an interesting perspective to get you some voices from this conference of journalists who are working under extremely harsh conditions across the world. And it's important that we do not become a martyr if we really want to be able to tell stories. But of course, there is the universe, there is the plans, nothing doing about that. And Anna, you're of course Palestinian solidarity,
Of course, always.
you know, there. What are you really hoping? What will happen in Gaza?
Gaza it's not only Gaza. I think Palestine is a universal cause. And we have seen brutality on another level, on another scale, lack of accountability, the failure of international law and human justice and international courts. So I think we are at a stage where the world is waking up, and I believe that these kind of forces do not last. The forces of evil never last. No matter how evil they get, it doesn't last, because people want to live eventually.
Right.
Whether it's in Syria, whether it's in Palestine, whether it's in America, wherever it is, whether it's in India, people want to live, and people actually want to live together.
Yeah.
We are facing political and diplomatic issues that are building these divisions between us, and we need to defy them. And today, actually, the flotillas were, to me, the biggest example of civilian solidarity and a push to stop a war, a genocide, and to stop oppression.
Yeah, the activists from around the world, including the likes of Greta Thunberg, who were on those flotillas trying to take baby food, aid to Gaza, whether they succeed or not succeed, whether they were blockaded, but at least the very act symbolizes people's resistance, people's willingness to survive and to defy the brutalities that be. So Anna, thank you so much. I'm just going to give you a hug.
Yes, thank you so
And
much. It was so
wishing-
nice talking to you.
Yes, I am
meeting
earned
you.
a friend here, a young friend here in the conference, but there are several other interesting conversations also coming up with other journalists from different parts of the world who are facing different levels of challenges today, just to, drive home the point that as long as you're a democracy, as long as you think that you want to abide by international rules-based order, it's very important for journalism to be able to do its job and to speak truth to power, to hold those who are in positions of power accountable. So it's important for you also to understand the kind of situations, it's not just Godi media in India. Please do not judge media by that. There are serious journalists putting their lives at risk across the world. More stories coming up on my YouTube station. Stay tuned. Thanks and goodbye.